Do you like the Dreamcast? I love the Dreamcast and I am going on an adventure to complete every game on the system. There's almost 300 English Dreamcast games, so join me on my adventure to completing them all. The order is randomly chosen and this episode is Incoming. This was a very early release on the system and it was a bit of a visual powerhouse when it was on PC, but what about the Dreamcast version? Like, nobody talks about this. It was developed by Rage Games and published by themselves and Interplay in late 1999, although the Japanese version would be in December 98, both of which were around the launch windows for each respective region. I really had no idea what to expect going in, but I was mildly excited. There's always something charming about super early releases on a console. They're very rarely great, but they're usually interesting. Booting up the game, you'll see there's a campaign mode, arcade, and split screen. We're gonna go with campaign in order to beat this. It's set to easy by default, so that's what we're going with. Thanks, game. We're briefed about Mission 1. It's 2009, and Earth's moon bases and space stations have come under attack by UFOs. In Kenya, Earth has a super special radar to check their movements, but suddenly, out of nowhere, the invasion begins. You're thrown into the mission gunning a turret. Instantly, there's a massive problem for me, because the controls can't be inverted, or they are inverted. I don't know which one it is, but it's the one that I don't like. And there's no way to change it in the settings, so I'm going to have to learn to adapt. As you take control, you'll see the enemy ships swooping over. You've got a radar at the bottom and a pointer at the top, which shows where the current objective is. If it's red, it means the objective is an enemy craft to destroy. If it's green, it means there's a location to go to or an object to destroy, not an enemy fighter. The enemies fly in formation, so it's pretty easy to take them down if you get into the sweet spot, but the turret is quite sensitive, so it's a little bit harder than it looks. Now, I know what you're thinking, is this the whole game? Sitting in a turret and shooting moving objects? No! It's a multi-vehicular game, because if you look at the top left corner, there is your point score, but also a phase number. Every mission in this game, aside from the last few, have 10 phases, and with each phase change, you'll enter into a different vehicle. So phase 2 of this, you'll find yourself in a chopper, which is fine for early missions, but it gets miserable later on when the difficulty ramps up. You're told to fend off some tanks, which are always yellow on the radar. There's a fairly generous auto-aim for many of the vehicles in this game, but it's still really difficult to angle with this goddamn chopper, especially with surface targets. Escorting some cargo back to base, you'll then be put into a tank ready to kick ass. Once again, auto-aim, really generous. Just keep an eye on the radar and you'll always know where to point your cannon. After you've defended your base from tanks, more aerial threats come in and you're put back into the cannon for phase 4, and be careful not to blow up your own buildings. Yes, friendly fire is very much a thing, and you can become your own worst enemy at times. I didn't realize it at the time, but most vehicles have a secondary attack, and these turrets have a very useful homing rocket. Phase 5 has you gunning down a mothership and the rest of the alien craft in the chopper. It's worth noting that when you're playing, you're just very confused about what the hell is going on. You're just going from this tank to this chopper, go here, do this, do that. You're never really told why, so it does feel a little bit mindless. You never see the grand picture. But I guess if you were a soldier fighting off an alien invasion, you wouldn't be exactly invited to ask the question, why? Why doesn't exist in the military, so I do kind of give it credit for that. You feel like a pawn in a greater scenario, just doing your bit, and that makes it feel more strangely epic. Just do as you're told, blow crap up, we'll survive together. Just trust the generals as they sit in their tank behind the battlefield, sipping some red wine. What I do like about the tank is that there is some full-blown big rigs going on, as gravity has no meaning as you climb vertically up mountains. From the gist of what I got, you've secured an enemy craft and the idea is to retrieve it and learn the technology. At least that's what I think's going on as I'm slamming myself into mountains in the chopper. With that over, you're now in the alien ship. It's smooth as hell compared to the chopper, which made it weird to pilot. Unfortunately, the bullets are arse gravy, but this is when I figured out the secondary attack and started electrocuting the enemy craft. It looks pansy, but it's pretty effective. With the alien craft at base, you're now back in the bloody chopper to give air support to the tanks below. Thankfully that's pretty easy, at least taking care of the aerial threat is. It goes on an unwelcomingly long time, until finally you're back in the turret as even bigger ships come to destroy your base. You protect it by mostly blowing bits up yourself. Thankfully this bit is quite short and the alien invasion is repelled. But there is word from your magic radar that there is an alien base in the Arctic Circle. I always knew Santa was an alien ally. Whew, that first mission was 20 minutes, which quite a marathon in my opinion, especially as something as scattershot as this. Go here, do this, do that, keep going, don't stop. I felt like I needed a rest and thankfully you can save. Mission 2 has you going up to the North Pole with the idea to destroy all the buildings up there. Those Inuits can bugger off elsewhere. Here you start off in a tank trying to destroy shield generators, at which point you can take down their anti-aircraft turrets. Makes sense. You get a little scene of your allies successfully doing a bombing mission thanks to your hard work. Then it's onto some turret defense. I find these the most relaxing, but you can't relax too much since they put you in the chopper next and that's never relaxing. You're supposed to take down both airships and anti-aircraft turrets, but they absolutely mullered me the first time. I can't get close to these, otherwise you'll be destroyed in a flash. Once again, you're not entirely sure what's going on or why you're doing something, but the next turret section is pretty cool as you're protecting aircraft as they take off. And now, the coolest bit, a fighter jet on the edge of the atmosphere. It's genuinely cool as you do a little escort mission. The next part's pretty boring though, blowing stuff up in a chopper, defending with turrets again, another chopper section. It's like they felt compelled to this 10-phase level design, even when they didn't really have any meaningful ideas or purpose. I mean, from phase 8 to 9, you don't even change vehicle, you're still in the chopper between the two. And phase 8, oh man, it's miserable because you have to go through a valley or you'll get annihilated by anti-aircraft. But you've got a corner to turn with enemies waiting for you. I assume there's supposed to be like a strafe feature to make this far more dignified, but I couldn't figure it out. And I ended up getting killed by the enemy shield of all things. Even though I'm pretty sure I didn't even touch it. This was the first tough part of the game, and I did die multiple times. Thankfully, you have lives, and even if you run out, you can keep continuing, at least for now. Just getting through it with the skin of my teeth to piloting the alien aircraft again. This thing is so damn smooth, it makes the chopper sections feel even worse. After you destroy the ship, you then have to destroy shield generators and then the buildings that were protecting them. You pretty much need rockets for all of this, yet I wasted most of them. Plus, hitting things on the surface is so inconvenient when you're flying, especially the shield generator. It has a weakness in like a weird place. And this took me ages of just running for my life, almost no health. Thankfully, I managed to do it without dying on that part, which was a miracle. Ain't nothing to do with my skills. Mission 3 has you off the coast of Iceland, where another alien base has been spotted. They like the chilly parts of the world, which doesn't make sense, as we'll see later. But I like this mission quite a lot, even though it's mostly chopper nonsense and quite difficult. Starting off with a turret on a battleship, that's pretty cool. Took a couple of tries, but wasn't so bad in the end. I like how when you fail, it doesn't really indicate what happened, like nothing blows up. The camera just pans away as though it got bored and wandered off. Phase 2 is a royal pain in the arse, firstly because you're in the chopper, secondly because you need to defend 2 oil platforms, and it took ages. I wasn't even playing particularly bad, I was doing what I thought was required, but no, they were relentless. Probably didn't help I played my own part in firing bullets into it. I mean, what can I say? I voted for the Green Party one time. Maybe I am an eco-terrorist after all, I don't know. Anyways, the way I figured it out was to stop focusing on one particular place too much. I went to the second one, destroyed the mothership before quickly getting back to the first one. Phase 3 has you in the sweet fighter jet once more, easily the most fun craft in the game because it controls perfectly. The bullets have auto aim, it has proper rocket, it just wins. It's almost a guarantee that if I was in this bad boy, I was passing the phase first time I try. Sadly, can't be in too long because this game is eager as Arnold to get back in the chopper. It also has you on the lookout for alien submarines. Back in the turret, defending a port, I had to do this a few times because I accidentally blew up my secondary weapon. Yeah, you can see the place where your homing missile fires from. Well, there was a bit of friendly fire. Yeah, I disabled myself quicker than someone from Sheffield whose dole money wasn't enough. They've got 5 scroats to feed. What's it matter if a foot goes missing? Has you in the alien craft, which is much upgraded in terms of its firepower. It's quite funny that its job, the one mission it's given, is to shoot down icebergs. This is like getting Lionel Messi for your football team, but giving him the job of handing out the training bibs. Maybe not the best use of your resources, but I suppose it's something different. I wasn't expecting to prevent the Titanic during an alien invasion. Phase 7, another turret. Phase 8, a nice holiday cruise. Just joking, for some reason, there's a cruise liner here that you need to escort. This is long as hell, but it's cool because I'm in the jet. I really like these sections, and I wouldn't mind a whole game like this. It's a shame there's no Ace Combat on the Dreamcast, but I'm sure there must be something like it on there. Phase 9, the chopper again. This can be brutal because you're being absolutely hounded by enemy aircraft while you try to destroy alien bases rising from the ocean. I found just going up and down like a moron to be the best, but I still had to try a handful of times before I got the precise route and technique down. The final phase has a giant mothership that instantly killed me if I got anywhere close to it, which is kind of frustrating because I didn't think I was that close. So rather boringly, I kept my distance. I wasn't even sure what I was doing was correct, but I must have been doing something right because eventually Independence Day went down. And weirdly, we're halfway through the game and that's the biggest ship we're ever gonna destroy. With no more aliens detected on Earth, it's time to turn our attention to the moon. But first we need to launch the shuttles that will, take supplies? I mean, shuttles aren't exactly known for being spacious or for their weapon capabilities, so I don't really know what they're doing. But we're sending them up there and we need to protect them. This is mission 4, pissing about as NASA, defending the shuttles, and it's hard. I mean, they're hardly known for their endurance, are they? For some reason, after destroying aliens with the alien ship for phase 2, you decide to downgrade to a chopper, which is one of the worst downgrades since the PS3 replaced the legendary PS2. And then there's a turret section because, of course, you're defending. Unfortunately, I may have contributed to blowing up a shuttle or two. Phase 4 is the weirdest of them all because it's mind-blowingly unintuitive. A shuttle has a couple of burning alien craft on the launch pad and you need to do 2 things. Firstly, your secondary weapon has been replaced with a water cannon and you need to put the fire out. If you can figure out the best way to do it, like how am I supposed to do it? There's like no reach, you can barely see. The only way to do it is if you stick your nose in its ear. It's so awkward, it's almost funny. Totally not helped by the chopper being drunk. After you've extinguished those 2, you have to pick them up and drop them off at base. Not sure why that couldn't have waited until later. There are aliens everywhere. After that, there's a few more forms of defending the place with different vehicles, but essentially the same stuff until all the shuttles fire off to the moon. It's not the easiest of times, I tell you. I had to replay most phases at least once because of their penchant for blowing the shuttles up before I could stop them. Obviously, the chopper gave me the most trouble because that's what it does best. I'm praying there's no chopper sims on the Dreamcast. Alright, mission 5, the moon. We've established an assault team and a dimensional portal has been detected. So that's how they got there. The briefing warns you that you'll be flying in near darkness. No kidding, Sherlock. Space certainly is black and the moon ain't that much brighter. But hey, at least in space no one can make you pilot a chopper because there's no air. Right? There's gonna be no chopper here, yes? Well, you've got some fancy space weaponry now. These would have been useful on Earth, I'm sure, but whatever. Just go around blowing them up for the time being, if you can see anything. But I am loving this moon tank, to be honest.
Destroy alien attack guns.
Not a massive fan of this mission. Shooting down shield generators in tight craters isn't my idea of fun. I kept slamming into the moon, the force field, and even blowing myself up by just being too close to the destroyed buildings. This part was a bit of a nightmare if I'm honest. It feels massively glitchy as I seemingly blow up from nothing at all. Like, what the hell is this? What's going on? Either I'm missing something or there's some funny business happening. They just couldn't make it easy, could they? This took forever to do properly. But thankfully, Phase 4 is a quick turret section. Phase 5 has you doing some dogfighting as well as destroying buildings, most of which are far more shootable than the last one. And you kind of do this for a few phases, same thing but with a tank, all pretty unimaginative, although I suppose there aren't any icebergs on the moon to give you something to do, but eventually you blast your way through to the portal the aliens have been using, taking down the shield and buildings surrounding it before securing it for yourself. With Earth banding together, pooling their technology, somehow you're going on the assault. Mission 6 is the final big mission. The plan is to go to their home world and wreck everything. This is essentially the plot from Stargate. You're gonna go to their home world, plant a big bomb, and then leave. Their planet is a miserable desert. No wonder they want to invade elsewhere. You start on a hovercraft thing. Where the hell did Earth get this technology from? You have to head to an aircraft base and blow up some fine Nintendo 64 golden buildings. That's if you don't get glitched to death. Just avoid all the enemies and blast rockets into the hangars. It's not too difficult. Second phase is you on a high-tech craft protecting the Stargate, portal. Not long before switching to a turret section. This is one of the few times the turret section is tough because you can't just focus on one enemy wave. You have to get the balance right here. Phase 4 is one of the most badass missions because you're back in the high-tech fighter and you're just wrecking every alien building. This is a prime time piece of you messed with the wrong life form, aliens. Phase 5 and oh my god, they didn't. They went full Graham Hancock on us. Never go full Graham, okay? Never go full Graham. This section can burn in hell. If you suffer from epilepsy, skip past the next few minutes because this little craft delves deep under pyramid. It's pitch black, so you need to fire your blasters to light it up. I sped it up ×2 because the effect was way less painful. And this section, it's slow, glitchy, confusing, and the least enjoyable part of the game, even if it's the most interesting gameplay idea. This is one of 2 sections like this, and it's the least worst of them, but they're both pretty bad. I don't know what the purpose of this is, just don't ask why, just do it. Once you make it out to the other side, you're back bombing their entire civilization. Crimes against humanity don't apply to alien species. The UN, they can't say jack. You're blowing up pyramids and sphinxes and it's so fun to do this. When you get to phase 10, the final part of the longest mission in the game, you're gifted the wonder of a space chopper. It's been a while, and this is a long, difficult mission with many different parts going on. To say it succinctly, you have to protect a nuclear bomb, then take it to the enemy base, then destroy all the enemy bases with a chopper. Wait, what? What was the point in the bomb then? Then you need to chase the bunch of motherships that are heading to the portal, and then finally defend the portal. The second half of the mission is on a timer as well, and it's really difficult. Shooting bases with the chopper is painful, as you can imagine. At the first attempt, just as I'm fighting the motherships, I get blown up. Annoying, but not the end of the world, considering I can continue from the same phase, even if it is quite long. Hang on, what? Game over? Since when? I've played the entire game with limited lives but infinite continues, at least so I thought. But this mission, no. I don't know what's going on, but I have to start the whole mission again. That's like 50 minutes. And the second time I get to phase 9, the second epilepsy test, this happens. Are you joking? That's another 50 minutes wasted, this time on a glitch. Eventually, I get back to phase 10, and this time I decided to be a bit more clever about things, because even though it tells you to place the bomb, you can do other things in advance before you do so, which makes the time pressure obsolete. So I destroy the buildings first, most of the motherships, then I planted the bomb. And it was easy enough that I went through the portal as instructed, level done. Finally, it's at this point, something funky happened. I don't know what happened, but it made me play Mission 6 again.
Follow waypoint marker.
It's impossible for me to quite put into words how frustrated I felt at this point. But let me just muffle it, okay? You ready? Something like that. It's as though the game didn't want me to finish it, so I have to play it through it again. Thankfully, I was pretty good at it by this point, who'd have thought that, and eventually it did properly register, but that was another 30 minutes wasted. The final 4 missions are much shorter. It's as though they ran out of time or ideas, so mission 7, 8, 9, and 10 has you going through some of Earth's levels and destroying your own buildings. Yeah, all that stuff you've been protecting, now it's time to blow it up because they've all been infected by a virus or something I'm not sure how a virus can affect concrete, but these final levels are only a few minutes each. First at NASA, on the North Atlantic Sea, who needs oil in a post-alien world, and the North Pole, and then finally Kenya destroying your radar system, as you do. And that's it, the world has been saved. Apparently all the nations got together and said, well done, and things like that. If the aliens ever come back, we'll be more ready for them next time. We just don't have any oil or stuff like that. We have no buildings to protect in. In fact, we're gonna have to live in tents for about 10 years. But oh well. Overall, you know what? Despite the repetitive nature and predictability, the sheer amount of variety in vehicles kind of won me over. I mean, it's not a great game, but it was mildly fun for a couple of afternoons, and I was determined to take down those pesky UFOs and save the day. It's just a shame that it seemed determined to make it as difficult as possible for me. In terms of fun gameplay, I'd give it, respectable 6 out of 10. In terms of presentation, it's not great. It's 1998, but it doesn't look like a brand new generation of game for the Dreamcast. It's super ropey in visuals and presentation. I'd give that a 4 out of 10. Difficulty definitely ramps up a bit. I had to try multiple times on many phases. The balance wasn't always right. Some were really easy, some were incredibly unforgiving, especially at the end where you weren't allowed to fail for some reason. So I would give it an 8 out of 10 for difficulty. Thanks for watching. If you want to watch them early, check out my Patreon with the links in the description. They're ad-free. You also get behind the scenes updates and videos, bonus videos, long retrospectives. And what is the next game? The next game is Red Dog Superior Firepower. Oh yeah, heard that's a pretty good one. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video and subscribe and keep watching me on my adventure. Special thanks to my super producers, Alexander Cato, Brent McLean, FF14 Best RPG, JCrod7776, Vey, Sven Nowlertz, Wixit, Josh Foot, and Aldo SFC. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful support.